Hi, this is Mike Morales. You're watching a special edition of Sipping Off the Cuff. These are our tequila tryouts. And tonight we have, well, I'm from San Antonio. That gentleman over there is...
Jim Johnston from Youngstown, Ohio.
And and that's where you're calling from right now, correct?
I'm from Youngstown right now, correct.
Wow. How's tequila in Ohio these days? It's not a control state, is it? Or is it a control state?
We have very strange laws here, but one of the things is we can get tequila shipped in depending on where it's coming from. It is a control state, but the state is very open to bringing in new brands. So we've seen a lot more come in, and I had my choice today shipped to me from an out-of-state provider. Not a problem here.
Excellent.
I'm right next to Pennsylvania, and that is a problem, but it's sent here. So.
Yeah. So what are we tasting tonight? What are you going to walk me through this evening?
We are going to taste the Del Maguey Vida Mezcal, which I just got introduced to a couple months ago, and it really, really started to enjoy.
Oh my gosh! I've actually had it. I've had it served to me by Ron Cooper, and when it was introduced to us in New Mexico when I lived there. Oh, wow. Amazing stuff.
That's where I actually got introduced to, I mean, tequila in general, but this especially in Santa Fe at a little place called Maria's, which is one of the best margarita joints on the planet.
Yep. The guy there has his own book. He has his own margarita book.
Yes, which is on my shelf and has a place of honor on my shelf that Robert Redford wrote the foreword to because he hangs out at that bar. So if it's good enough for him, I guess it's good enough for me.
There you go. There you go. Well, next time you head on up to New Mexico, there's a gentleman. Let me know, and I'll there's a couple of really good mixologists that are friends of mine that knew me from when I lived there. So.
Great.
So what kind of vessel are you pouring it in? And let's.
I've got it. I'm using a white wine vessel. I tend to have a Rydell actually tasting glasses for tequila. They are in storage, but this is the second best thing for the nose and everything on it. So we're going with a white wine glass today.
Excellent. And show us the bottle again on the camera so we can all see that. Yeah, don't be afraid to stick it right up in there because it says, yeah, there it is.
A nice dark green background, but it's a great looking bottle.
Now, what do you know about this mezcal? First of all, what can you tell us about it?
Well, what I know about this is specifically that there are several different varieties from this producer, and that they are small batch, almost like us folks here in Ohio would be most likely to attribute that to bourbon. This is just something that I think it's a lot of. It's a craft mezcal. It's what mezcal tended to be back in the past, which is small family operation. But they do a really great job with it. This is the only one I've tasted of their line more than one time. I had a couple of them when I was in New Mexico to taste them, but this one specifically I've had a couple times, and I just think that they really get a good. They kind of capture several of the different flavors you can get out of mezcal. They really separate themselves. I didn't taste a bad one, but this is the one that I really liked. It's their baseline, and I think it's really a good introduction to mezcal.
What makes that mezcal so different from the other ones in the Del Maguey line?
For me, the difference that I tasted is, first, this differentiates itself, as far as I'm concerned, from other mezcals, just because you get a much better smoke profile. The fruit on it stands out a little bit better. But what designates this from the other ones is, I mean, again, this is the baseline. The other ones that I tasted, the aging and the smoking had a little bit of a different effect on the fruit flavors. You got a little bit more intense as you went up the line. For people who are just trying mezcal for the first time, I say this is a great intro.
Okay.
You start with some of the higher end ones. It might not hit your palate the way you were expecting it, and it might be a little bit of a turnoff. But for someone who likes this one, going up the ladder is not too bad.
Tell me what's the ABV on that? What's the proof on the label?
The ABV on the label is not on this label. Here we go. 42%. It's in the tiny upper right-hand corner with black lettering on purple, so it's very hard to see. But it's a 42% alcohol by volume, and there's a lot number on this, a stamped lot number on this. So you do get that sense of a small batch, like us, northern Midwesterners think about bourbon. Mm-hmm. It does come from something that, a whole warehouse full of barrels. This is a craft product.
Okay. All right. So walk us through when you were, if you were to introduce this to somebody, how would you do it first of all? Because it sounds to me like you've done a lot of wine tastings.
I've done, I'm a big red wine guy, and I'm also a very big Scotch guy. And one of the things that I tell all my friends who are big into Scotch, this has an Islay Scotch appeal. So for people that like whiskeys with peat smoke on it, mm-hmm. with a lot of really good earthy tones and a lot of the character of the barrel, this is great for that. I've brought a lot of people in Ohio over to tequila since I've traveled in the Southwest, but getting them over to tequila is not the hard part. It's getting them past the entry point tequilas and into something that's not going to be shots at or a cheap sugary margarita. That was tough to begin with. But getting them over to mezcal is a little bit different because I've got, number one, there's not a worm in the bottom of every bottle. That's right. A stupid, kitschy thing that has perpetuated itself. But number two, that the flavor profile, it's not going to have the same taste and kind of burn of a lower end tequila. This is going to have some smoothness. It's going to have some character. And the flavor is going to really come through from the beginning to the end. People drink tequila way too fast, and I think that they'll probably drink this way too fast, but they don't get to actually experience the top notes and the bottoms and the finish of a good mezcal. And I think this, it almost sips like a Scotch. I mean, I tasted it the first time and had it neat and sipped on it for about 25 minutes, and it was just a little taste because I had a flight, but It really it's got some really nice fruit character to it. It really picks up the barrel so that you get a wood. And I know the back of the bottle says you're going to get some sandalwood flavors on it. It's even more of a cross between a sandalwood and I would say an oak barrel, almost a whiskey barrel aged. But that smoke that comes out, it livens up the fruit. I think that if you've ever had pineapple on a grill, it's better because it's got the smoke from the grill on it.
Right. The
sweetness and the smoke on this really play off each other really well.
Now, just to be on the just to clarify a little bit, this tequila, this mezcal is not aged. Correct. That's what it. Okay. So it's technically considered a joven. In other words, it's not aged. So any smoke that you're getting, any wood notes that you're getting from it being roasted, in whatever wood is in the area that they're using. And I think Ron, who's the curator of all this, the whole Del Maguey line, if I look at his information, he could probably tell us what kind of wood they're using for the pit roasting of the agave. So walk me through. You've got the glass there, and how would you nose it, and how should we nose it, and that kind of thing.
Well, up front, I'm picking up on the nose. You get the smoke immediately, but the smoke also has elements of the fruit on it. I get a little bit of citrus, and I get a little hint of vanilla bean, but it's not a sweet vanilla bean. It's almost like a I don't want to say vanilla extract because that's too chemically, but you get a nice upfront hint of vanilla and citrus. I would call it orange on the smoke, and then it's got that almost that deep. Sometimes I compare agave. It's almost got a pear scent on it. When you first get into a fresh pear, you get that interesting aroma of a subtle off sweetness, but it's really just if you give yourself the chance to get past the smoke on this one, it's got a really nice aroma to it. And it's not after the second or third sniff. It's not. Some people smell this. They smell the scotch that I like to drink, and they're like, it smells like a campfire. Give it a second. Those notes come through on this one. It's complex, even though it's a very simple mezcal. It's complex. So, and after that, the front of it, you are going to get that upfront smoke. You're going to get some upfront spice, which I would say is kind of a cinnamon, almost cinnamon to allspice flavor. And then if you let that kind of sit for a second, you're going to get those citrus notes. You're going to get that little bit of an orange. You're going to get probably some fruits in with it. And then it kind of finishes off as that smoke and that fruit blend together on your palate. That's where you get that nice, soft, smooth finish where it's kind of a match of the sweet and the smoky, and you get that nice, smooth finish at the end. And that's the part I just really like about it.
So take some in and tell us what you're getting.
Up front, you kind of get the smoke hits you in the nose, but what hits you on the palate is that the citrus spice flavor. So, I would say it's like the first second of a spiced rum where you get all those flavors of the spices, but also a little bit of the citrus on it. But then the smoke comes through. I think up front you're going to catch the smoke off of it first, but you give it that second and you get really a nice kind of floral, very mellow floral finish on it. And
how's the finish? How's the finish on it?
The finish on it's really nice because what happens is as that smoke and that sweetness kind of level off on the palate, you get something which, to me, as a whiskey connoisseur as well, is as smooth as the smoothest whiskey you're going to take. This does not have the burn element that people are afraid of with tequila when they first try it. It does not have that. It's got a very nice mouthfeel. It's got a very nice finish on it. And I would say the finish is kind of going to take you to a real well-made bourbon or a rye whiskey in that it's got that smooth follow through, but it's also got the elements from which it's made. You taste the fruit that this was actually made from. And I think, I'm in Ohio. I'm never going to get a chance to actually bite into an agave fruit and see what it tastes like. But I imagine when you get this smell, it's that kind of rare, like, I don't know what this is, but it smells somewhat familiar, kind of tropical fruit blend at the end. So, the finish on it is, it just kind of, the smoke mellows out and the fruit comes forward and it goes down the throat and it's like a really well done whiskey. And that's the thing. These aren't barrel aged, but the smoothness that comes from it, which you would typically associate with something that's been barrel aged for quite some time, is really there. And it's really nice to taste. And one thing about it too is what I said about the mouthfeel. It's got a little bit of body to it. It's a clear spirit, and it's not aged. It's not picking up any of the tannins or the char out of a barrel. But it's not like drinking water, and it's not like drinking vodka. It's got some body to it, and it feels in your mouth like you've taken something that's actually spent some time developing its character. So for something that's not spent years in a barrel, it really has a ton of character up front.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't take into consideration is whenever you have an agave spirit, whatever it happens to be, tequila, mezcal, bacanora, whatever, raicilla, it really is a kind of plant that has already been aged before they harvest it. Some of the more sought after mezcals that you may or may not try in the future, like Tobola, some of those, they take 30 years to grow, and they're huge pinas. And it really is the ultimate slow food. A lot of folks, even when you talk about tequila, it spends, anywhere from 6 to 8 years in the ground, depending on who's growing it, before you even harvest it. So there's,
Right.
a Blanco in and of itself has, it's been aged in the ground, obviously, but it's not like any other spirit that you were mentioning, whether it's vodka or whiskey, all these renewable primary materials, or even sugarcane, you can get that all the time. With tequila, it's not like that. You really, or even mezcals, some of these take a long time to grow before, and so it's nice that because it takes so long to grow, it's nice to be able to point out some of the characteristics that they have. It's at least taken 8 years to grow, to get
Right.
some sort of character, and many of these other mezcals have been in the ground a lot longer.
Well, and I think too that with this especially, all the other spirits that we just mentioned, all of that character comes post, and all of the the ingredients into it, whether it be corn or rye or grapes, a year tops to be produced and put into whatever's being produced here. All the terroir on this is coming long before it's even harvested. So for big time wine drinkers or big time Scotch drinkers, all that character comes after they've picked the grapes. Now, obviously, the region where the grapes are grown matters to the wine, but you're getting about an 8-month influence max on that grape.
Mm-hmm.
This, you get a little bit of an earthy, not only the smoke gives it that earthy taste, like you've the campfire taste of that smoke, but also the ground that it grew in and the air, you get a little bit of a sense of you're sitting by a fire outside. It's a cool night, and you kind of get that sense of not only do I smell the fire, but I smell the earth and the ground around me, like it just rained. That's kind of a smell that I get off of this, is that there's some fruit here, there's some fire here, but there's also some dirt here, there's some earth, there's just rain smell, and I really like that because it's I'm probably going to be at a bonfire this weekend and sipping this over bourbon, because I'm going to get that whole sense of, my senses around me are picking up everything, and that's what I get out of this.
Excellent. And so, before we sign off, then, what is it about Vida that you would recommend to a consumer who, maybe he is in Pennsylvania and can't get it, or that he would look forward to? Because, like I said, we get viewers from all over the world, for that matter. What's the takeaway? What would you tell them to take away from that and to look forward to?
For someone who couldn't get this, I would say 3 things. Number one, sippability. It's not going to be overwhelming. Even though there's smoke up front, it's not that overwhelming that sometimes people get with the Islay scotches that, oh my God, it just tastes like I put my mouth on a burnt piece of wood. It's not that the case here. Number 2 is smooth. It's not going to have, for people that don't drink the agave spirits, they think, oh, I'm going to shoot tequila. It's terrible. It's going to burn. This has the smooth finish that whiskey drinkers like. It's got the fruit and floral character that wine drinkers like. And for anyone that drinks anything else and is scared of tequila, the first taste is not going to set you back. It's not going to scare you off. If you can get yourself to actually, put your nose to it and put your lips to it, you're going to get something really nice. And it's just I think it appeals to wine drinkers, whiskey drinkers, and anybody else that's scared of tequila or a mezcal spirit. It's a really nice introduction. So I just think it's a good one. And I personally, with the smoke on this, would love to make myself a mezcal old fashioned and replace my whiskey with this.
There you go.
And get that smoke taste and that sweetness. So I think it's a great intro.
Just out of curiosity, Kit, does it say on the bottle what and it should, what plant they're using for this mezcal?
It's the Esperian mezcal.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, sir. That I'm gonna sign us off as I normally do. Right. That is Mr. Johnston. Jesus. Let me get that's. Wow! Holy cow! I almost broke I almost had a brain fart there. It's Jim Johnson, right? And,
yes.
And you just walked us through Vida Mezcal. Vida from show the bottle again, from Del Maguey. That is one of my favorites, by the way. And you've been watching our special Sipping Off the Cuff, which is our tequila tryouts. And again, look forward to all of these tryouts coming up in December. In the meantime, as we say here in San Antonio, I'm Mike Morales. That gentleman there, again, Jim Johnston in Ohio. And
Yes.
we like to say, that's it. We like to say, sip water.